Well, welcome to this episode of the Poetry of Healing. I'm Dr. Paulina Van, and I am so happy that you are here. And this is a very special show as we begin the new academic year, school year, and we're focusing on college students and their mental health. And so I just encourage you to stay with us to hear this just compelling conversation from my guest and I about how to promote mental health or healthy minds in our college students who are working so hard to increase their knowledge and laying a foundation for their professional worlds. And I also want to say, if you are not a college student or don't know a college student, this show is still for you because mental health challenges occur also in the lay population. So as we always do, I'm going to invite you to begin with a 1-minute centering exercise with me, just so that you can capture this time, be in the moment, and just engage, reflect, absorb the important information we want to share with you today. And so I'm just going to do a breathing exercise. And a matter of fact, I learned it from a coworker who's a personal trainer and also a yoga teacher. So let's try. I'm going to invite you to try this. And so I invite you to lower your gaze or close your eyes because you'll be able to focus more and anchor on your breath if you have fewer visual distractions. And so as you lower your gaze or close your eyes, or if you don't want to do either, you can just softly gaze on an object that's in front of you or in the space where you are at. And so we breathe by breathing in through the nose and then breathing out through the mouth as if you are blowing out a candle. So let's begin. You just breathe in through your nose, just deeply, and then take another breath on top of that. And then as you exhale, say release. Another breath. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. Another breath on top of that. And as you exhale, grab something that's within your body that's maybe tight and just blow it out into the universe. And then the last breath we're going to do in this way, you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, then a breath on top of that. And then as you exhale, just say relax. Okay. Take another deep breath in and be aware of your surroundings. Blow that breath out. Take another deep breath in and be aware of what's going on in your body. And you breathe that out. And lastly, take a nice deep breath in. And if your eyes are closed as you are exhaling, just gently open them and enter this session. So thank you for joining in with me for that centering exercise. And I just want to say that I am Dr. Paulina Van. This is the Poetry of Healing. And today we have a special guest. I'm going to bring her in, and we're going to be talking about college students. And here she is.
Hi.
Dr. Camilla Peart-Terry. Welcome to the Poetry of Healing.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I am so glad. And Dr. Peart-Terry, I've wanted to do this show for a very long time. And we talked about it last year.
We did.
But this is the right time. The school year is beginning. We're both professors, me in nursing, you in psychology. So we have feet on the ground as it relates to college students. So I am so happy that you agreed to come and just talk to me and talk to us about college students and mental health. So the viewers would love to hear. They see me all the time, and they love to hear a little bit about your background, whatever you'd like to share.
Okay. Well, I'm from San Francisco. I grew up there, but my roots are in Jamaica, so I really understand different cultures and things like that. I work in different colleges teaching psychology. I love psychology, all different types of it. I also love art. So I do art therapy in my private practice, which is located in Berkeley. My passion is helping young African Americans or people from the African diaspora with different mental health challenges. There are a lot of stigmas attached to it. And so I like to make it normal to receive help and normal to talk about resources that can help all of us. I think everyone can benefit from therapy. There's always room to grow and develop.
Well, thank you. Do you want to share anything about where you went to school or anything else that?
Okay, I can talk a little bit about my journey. I do share this with my students a lot.
Mhm.
Most people do not end up doing something in the career where they studied. So my first um, degree that I got was actually in fashion design. I wanted to be a fashion designer. I love art, and I thought that'd be a great way to support myself. But once I started working in the industry, I decided that was not what I want to do. I still love fashion, but I don't want that to be my career. I need my career to be something where I feel like I'm giving back and I'm doing something that feels good to me.
Mhm.
So while I was in school, I worked for the health department in San Francisco teaching HIV and AIDS education. And I realized that I liked teaching and I liked working with young people. And so
Mhm.
I continued my education and I got a degree in sociology only because I liked learning about it, but didn't really know what I would do with it. And then I decided I liked school a lot more. I loved learning about the things that I had passion about. And I figured that out while I was getting my bachelor's there. Continued my education in psychology. And during that time, since I didn't major in sociology, since I didn't major in psychology, I had to do a lot of prerequisites, which
Mhm.
I share with a lot of college students. Make sure that you study things that are really interesting to you, that seem fun and not super challenging, but still help you grow.
Mhm.
And so while I was getting my master's, I had to take psychology courses at different community colleges all over the Bay Area. And that's where I figured out that the population I love to work with the most are community college students.
Mhm.
So I teach psychology at different community colleges, and I do teach some graduate level courses as well. During that time, I decided I wanted to get a doctorate, probably not in mental health. I didn't think I wanted to practice after having kids, but
Mhm.
reframed the way I thought about that and got a doctorate in organizational psychology. So I have degrees in different types of psychology, two masters in psychology and one doctorate in psychology. And I would still be a student now if I didn't have to take care of my family. I love learning.
Oh my goodness. So I've known you for about 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
I know you were fashion conscious, but I had no idea that that's where your career started. So it's all starting to make sense. And I will share, I'll just share this because it's wonderful news. And you are a newlywed. And
I,
I've known your husband longer than you. So I'm just going to put it out there and let him know that I am acknowledging his bride. And I just am so happy for you both. You just two very special people in our lives. So
Thank you. And you were at the wedding, so you got to see it all.
yeah, it was an experience. That's all I can say. A beautiful, beautiful experience. And so I'd like to just set the stage. Why are we talking about mental health and college students, and especially focusing on African American college students? The rates of depression and anxiety have nearly doubled in the last decade, and data shows that students' needs around mental health have been growing and growing and growing, and perhaps the college resources have not kept pace. Mental health is tied to academic performance, and I'll include survival, and we'll touch on that survival aspect later in the show. But we do know that students of color are far more likely to struggle with symptoms of mental health disorder and are not necessarily accessing care. So, um, what I'd like to do is just take us through just a journey of exploring, what are the causes of mental health, types of conditions, and then how, as parents, friends, peers, um, college staff, can support students who have challenges in mental health. Okay. And then, more importantly, we're going to touch on some treatment, and treatment being, the Western medicine approach, but also practical approaches the more holistic approaches. Okay. So let's start with, what are some of the factors that contribute to mental health challenges in undergrad students? So we're focusing on the younger college generation. So please share.
Well, I think
Mhm.
not knowing what's going to happen in the future can bring anxiety to all of us, even if it's something that we like. But any change can bring anxiety. So, not really knowing what you want to do. A lot of people at that age are not sure exactly what they want to do. So, they can feel a lot of pressure. Being out on their own for the first time, having to work while going to school could also be challenging. And also, if you have a family history of mental health,
Mhm.
your family history with family mental health challenges that were not really cared for. A
Mhm.
lot of people from similar backgrounds will say, I could see that my parents were stressed, or I could see that they were depressed, but that wasn't something that we talked about. It's just you push through and you do what you need to do. So we are taught, a lot of us are taught, just whatever you're feeling that's not good is normal, and just push through and don't really deal with it. And that can make you feel really sick. So stress can cause depression,
Mhm.
anxiety, lack of sleep, a lot of things to make your college experience challenging.
Well, we're both professors and we see this. Students, and not all students, but there are students that stress over grades. They stress over being perfect in a presentation or in a paper. And this leads to stress. But we don't, as you mentioned, this is a taboo subject. We don't talk enough about what's going on in our head. And is there an example that you can share with us? I have one too, but I'd like you to go first. An example of what you see in terms of anxiety and stress among your students.
Well, one thing that I always like to do that I love about teaching is I can share personal information. So I do share, that I understand what that was like to be in school and be a student and be new. I struggled with anxiety, thought it was normal until I started helping people that have it. And then I decided to work on myself some more. So, telling them that if you knew everything, you wouldn't be here. I have a law degrees. There's still things that I don't know. So you don't have to be perfect. If you were perfect and you knew everything, you wouldn't need to be here. So I like to disclose that and just let them know that you're here to learn and grow and develop. And if you figure out that you don't like something and you don't want to be a scientist anymore, that's okay. You figured out something that you don't like. You're here to not just get an A or a B, but you're here to grow and develop and figure out what you actually are passionate about, what you actually want to do, which you might not know yet.
Sure, sure. And what are some of the signs that you see among students in their academic performance that says, hey, there may be something, there's a challenge going on,
Well,
and it
I
may
think,
be a mental health challenge. Yeah.
yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to have students feel like they can trust me. And so I do have them um, answer questions about themselves, but through Canvas. So you upload things so it's not in front of everyone. And I feel like they feel a little bit more comfortable sharing that. So they'll usually just tell me what they're struggling with, that they're stressed, that they are anxious,
Mhm.
that they are not feeling good, that their needs are not being met, things like that. Like they're hungry, they're tired. And I do like to check in with them and see if there are things that we can provide, even if it's not me directly, because I don't provide mental health services in colleges anymore, but I do put them in the direction where they can access them and build community if they don't have that already.
Mhm. I'm so glad you brought up this issue of just their basic needs may not be met, such as food, such as shelter. Um, I teach nurses, and they some of them have to make a decision between, do I eat or do I put gas in my car to get to the hospital for my clinical rotation? So these are not things that are really talked about, and I'm glad that we're bringing them to us to the surface. Another thing that comes up as a professor of observing, I teach a death and dying class, and a lot of the students, especially the students of color in their 20s, have had so many um, experiences with death of loved ones. So, not in the clinical area, but death of friends or loved ones. And I know growing up, that wasn't something that I experienced. My grandmother died, but I mean, that was a major loss, but I didn't have friends and other family members dying around me. And so that's a really different. So they're struggling with dealing with grief, not having much foundation of a life experience. And so it's dealing with loss is a big thing. So you have the anxiety to perform academically, you have the basic needs not being met, and then you have this loss occurring. So I'll share with you what I see in the classroom. Either uh, I think the hallmark is late submitting assignments past the due date. That,
I don't allow that.
yeah, but
Yeah.
well, I have policies and procedures, in place to minimize that. And but that's what, or negotiating. I need more time, or not showing up to class, or as the young folks say, ghosting. So I may send them an email and I get no response. Or just when I see them, I teach virtually, and so do you, but you'll see them on the screen and their body is there, but you can see that their mind is wandering, or the face has a sad look or a distant gaze on it. So anything else that you have observed among your students that would be helpful?
Those types of things, or maybe a lot of anger and aggression when they are interacting with other students. So that would be a good sign.
Yeah. Or anger and aggression towards the instructor in some way.
That has definitely happened to me before. So I personally had to work through not taking that personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can't. You can't. I'll give you another example. I had, um, the cohorts have their social media page, and this one student was posting very derogatory things about me, and it made other students very uncomfortable. And so they came to me and they printed out the post. And so, a lot of things that were said were really personal, but I could not take it that way. If I was going to be a role model for the student, how to deal with this type of interaction, I could not be angry. I could not, lash out. And so when she came in the office, she brought someone with her to, observe this exchange.
Mm,
I just asked her, I said, what's going on with you? How are things going with you? I see these posts, and she was horrified. And I said, just tell me what's going on. Um, and, she did. And by the end of the conversation, she was asking me to be her mentor. You see, so there's something about, and if we can just say that we can't take these things personally.
mm.
Um, Now, I'm not
They're
saying
asking
we,
for help. They're asking for help. And so you gave her love, which she probably didn't have. And so she didn't know
yeah,
how to really ask for it.
yeah, yeah. So So we talked about some of the things we see in the classroom. I just have some prompts here for you. So, what types of mental health conditions? So we're going to start giving some things labels that our viewers may be familiar with. What are some of the conditions that you might see among the students?
Majority would be stress, anxiety, depression.
Okay. All
And
right.
stress can increase the depression and the anxiety.
Yes, yes. And so what are some of the symptoms of depression and anxiety and stress?
So I like to, when I'm in class, talk about my own personal experiences that I have to make
Hmm.
sure to understand that everyone experiences these things. And so on the first day, I give them a timesheet to fill out, which basically just says everything they do for every hour of the day so they can be aware and accountable for how they spend their time. Because I know with social media, you can spend a lot of time on your phone doing things instead of being as productive as you'd like to do. So I'm like, write that down so that you know exactly how you're spending your time. Because if you can manage your time, you can be a lot more productive.
Hmm.
So initially they think I'm trying to like know all their personal business, which I'm not. I tell them it's for them to figure out what they're doing, how they're spending their time so they can plan, study, sleep,
Hmm.
eat, self-care, all those things. But I just share if you feel overworked, if you feel exhausted all the time, how much sleep are you getting? Like keep track of those things so that those things don't get in the way of you being as productive as you'd like to be. But
Hmm.
signs of depression are not wanting to be around people, isolating yourself, not feeling motivated to do the things you once loved doing, not eating, eating too much, not sleeping, sleeping too much. So extremes of anything. And then substances, because things are legal now. Sometimes people will use increased amounts of substances. So being aware of what they're doing and how they're spending their time. And I also advise them not to work more than 20 hours a week. It's hard to be a full-time student and work more than 20 hours a week.
Sure, sure. Did you mention sleep disturbances?
Sleep, yeah, we do talk about sleep, how much sleep you get, how much sleep you need. I'm someone that needs a lot of sleep, so I've shared that when I was working full time, going to school full time, taking naps, how just taking a nap, even if it's 30 minutes, can help you to think clearly and process better and make better choices and just feel good.
Hmm. Hmm. So, if you just dropped into the show, um, my special guest today is Dr. Camilla Peart-Terry. She's a psychologist and also a professor at university, and we're talking about mental health in college students at a very timely timely in this year because school has just begun. And so we're wanting to bring awareness to, if you're a college student watching today, a parent, a friend, a family member, or even a peer, or a part of the university staff or administration, that we just want to bring to your awareness some of the struggles, signs, and symptoms of students who are having mental health challenges. And the most that we see are anxiety, depression, and stress. Of course, there are other more serious conditions that may come up. And it's so important as we speak with you and we have this conversation together because African American students and other students of color, but particularly African American students, tend to have higher rates of mental health challenges while in college and tend not to seek as much care for those conditions. And so, uh, Kamala, what I'd like to do is one of the things that comes up is that students isolate themselves when they're feeling anxious or depressed. So, as a professor in the classroom, is there anything else that we should be looking for? And then I'll talk about what parents and friends can do and what their peers can look for as well. They're kind of all similar, right? But
Everything is connected.
Okay.
I think as an instructor, sharing all the resources on the first day and again in the middle of the semester of things that we have to offer. So joining clubs and programs. There are free mental health services on campus. So I like to give them that information so that they can access that before they feel stress and anxiety and depression. Like
Mhm.
if you already have a relationship, it'll be easier to ask for help when you need it. So
Mhm.
I think that is really important to do that.
Mhm.
And build a relationship. I really try to build relationships with my students so that they can feel comfortable.
Sure, sure. What should parents be looking for in particular?
Well, I think it should hopefully the communication and trust should be happening before they go away to college so that, the student would feel comfortable going to help from their parents. So
Mhm.
just looking for less communication. If there's less of that, checking in with them,
Mhm.
setting dates. I know a lot of college students say, I don't want to talk to my parents every day because that takes too much time and that's not what I want to do. And as a parent myself, we worry about our kids forever. It doesn't matter how old they are. So maybe setting up days and times where you could talk to them so that they don't feel like you're being too pushy, but you're still there to listen to what they have to say
Mhm.
and maybe not asking too many questions, just open-ended general questions so you can see if they want to engage. So
Mhm.
just seeing how they're engaging, how their classes are, seeing if they have friends, because they really need to have community at school. So are they joining clubs? Are they joining a sorority or a fraternity? Are they playing a sport? Are they going outside? Are they
Mhm.
building relationships? I think it's really important that you help them or encourage them to build relationships and to be kind to themselves. Do
Mhm.
not it takes time to adjust to a new school and how they teach and what the expectations are going to be.
So you're talking about self-care, you're talking about self-compassion, treating yourself like your best friend, talking about communication. Those are very, very good tips. So suppose I'm a peer. What should I be looking, besides those things? What would come, what should raise a red flag for me? What I think of is when, especially in group work, um,
Mhm.
kind of just pull back, and not communicate as much and definitely not contribute enough to the project. But is there anything else that peers should
So
look at?
period and like friendships in college classes.
Yes, yes, like
Yeah.
class.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I encourage them to be friends and communicate and talk to each other. So yeah, if they're not engaging, reach out and say, check on your friends.
Yes,
Invite them
absolutely.
to do things like ask them to study with you, ask them to go for a walk with you, ask them to have a meal with you. So
Mhm,
checking in, making sure you have a partner or a peer that you can spend time with. I encourage the students to build relationships with students in the class so that they don't feel alone or feel like they're left behind if they
mhm,
miss class for some reason. Because once you start missing, it's easy to just keep missing, and that's not a good thing.
mhm, mhm. So one of the most severe, I won't say one of the outcomes, but the most severe outcome
Mhm.
is suicide. And we don't talk about mental health, and we definitely don't talk about suicide. But I think
Mhm.
it's really important that at least we put it on the table. And if students or someone doesn't get help, that is a possibility. So what have you seen in terms of suicidal thoughts or suicide among college students?
Well, I personally haven't experienced that with
Mhm.
in colleges. I have in other schools I've worked in, but not with college students. So I think just making them aware of resources that are there and also the language that people are using when you're talking to them. Like, do they seem hopeless? Do they seem overwhelmed? Those types of things, like making sure that they don't feel that way. Because if you don't have healthy coping skills when you are feeling like that, it's easy to just be like, it'd be easier to not be here when that would be really hard for everyone that loves you if you were not. So finding ways to focus on gratitude, even when it's hard,
Mhm.
would be a really great idea.
Well, I'm glad you brought up this hopelessness feeling because that is one of the drivers. You feel like there's no way out of whatever the situation is. And the hopelessness is so prevalent. I want to, at this point, give a national resource. It's dialing 988, which is the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline. I'll just share that with you. We're going to drop other resources in the chat after the show, and they're national resources because, as uh, Kamala said, that the resources are geographic. Of course, they're university or college specific, and then they're geographic specialties. So we can just speak in general so we can help everyone. So another thing that I'd like to talk to you about is you have a practice where you support your patients and your college students. There's also this rise in technological or online resources to support mental health, preventative, and also support those with an active condition. So, anything you want to say about that?
About my resource or the one? Well, I think, the pandemic was sad, right? We're still dealing with COVID and things like that. But one thing that's positive that came from the pandemic is help through the internet, and there are less stigmas attached to getting help. Young people were really impacted negatively. If they were an introvert before the pandemic, it's hard for them to go outside of their house or even go to a class in person, things like that. So being able to meet with your counselors online, I think is a really helpful thing, or even just having a phone call. I have young people that I work with and they prefer phone calls, especially if there's a socioeconomic difference and they don't want to show that they're living in their car, or they don't want to show that they're, what their home looks like wherever it is that they live. Being able to do it on Zoom or do it on a phone call, I think is really helpful to them. And it's wonderful that we can do. You can reach a lot more people.
Sure. Yeah. And so there are so many resources. We can't qualify them or say whether they're good or bad because there really hasn't been sufficient research to validate the utility of all these online resources, but they are, they are there. And you brought up something that I just got a vivid picture of, and that is students living in their car.
Mm-hmm.
I have had along the years, students who sign in who are living, in their cars, and um, that is stressful. And it's, school is stressful, and then we talk about being not secure in terms of being not having a home or other things that you need just to feel safe. I do want to emphasize that it's not only those that are socioeconomically challenged that experience mental health challenges. It's there's no how can I say boundaries. It can affect it can affect everyone. So you talked about some things you do in your classroom to kind of address and mitigate the development, or at least give the students tools to deal with their mental health conditions or strategies to kind of minimize stress developing or anxiety developing. Is there anything else you want to share about what you do, either in your practice, in the classroom, to help?
Well, in my introductory psychology classes, I like to give examples of projects or things that we do in private practice so that they can see how it might go, and then have them do something like stress related or anxiety related, including art. So creating maybe an art piece or doing some grounding work, visualizing something that makes you feel relaxed and calm and peaceful, toolboxes of things that they can use in the future that can help them. I really try to just give them things that they can take with them along their academic and career once they graduate. And breaking things up into small goals. 4 years of school, That seems like a long time for someone that just started school, and usually it takes a little bit longer. So if you're thinking about it like that, that can be really overwhelming. So just this week, what do you need to do this week? Check off things that you do. Break things up into smaller goals so that you can always feel accomplished, even if it doesn't feel like a huge thing.
Wow, that excellent, excellent tip. One of the things that I have done since 2014 is start my class, either in-person class or online class, with a meditation or centering, like we started today. And we didn't talk about this, but I'm also giving them tools.
Mhm.
Every week there's a different either meditation or some kind of self-care strategy. And even online, I post the videos online, or I make videos that are self-care or meditation so that they can listen to it. So it's in Canvas, and that's for those of you not familiar with Canvas, it's like Blackboard and other online learning tools. On the first, at the beginning of each module, I have, for each day, I have a self-care activity. And so there are many things that we can do to identify, then refer students, and then how can I say, coach them and support them in to keep their mental health optimal during this time. So we're coming to a close. Is there any other thing that you think would be helpful for either professors listening, family members, friends, their classmates listening, or just someone in that age bracket who are struggling with not being able to sleep, not being able to focus, not wanting to do the things you normally do? What would you
I
say?
I would say just, we all go through it. Everyone's had some type of anxious feeling or some type of depression in their lifetime. Even they don't talk about it. So whatever you're feeling is normal.
Mhm,
And that there are ways that things that you can do so that you don't feel that way.
mhm,
So really sign up for clubs, programs, things in your school so that you have things to look forward to. Because it's not just about getting A's in your classes, but it's also a time for you to grow and develop and figure out who you are and who you want to be. So
mhm,
building community, joining clubs, saying yes when you're asked to do things because you could be able to try things that you never would have even thought about doing on your own. So saying yes to others and saying yes to yourself, which means self care. It's really important that you realize what that means for you. That's something that I really try to work on with my own kids. They're 15.
mhm,
Yourself sleeping, eating well, drinking water, going outside. So if you're cooped up inside on a computer all day, that is not good for you. You need to get outside, get some sun, move your body, all of those types of things.
Those are excellent, excellent examples, and they don't cost money, right?
Mhm.
You don't have to do things that have a price attached. One of the things I did just last week is I was ending the class, and it's an online class. And what I had the students do, and I had the gallery
Mhm.
computer screen, and I just said, I'm making up names. Sam, you write something in the chat, private chat, Sarah, and say something that you admire about her. And I went through, I have 60 students, and I just went through, and
Mhm.
they did it. And I asked them, how does that feel? And they said, I didn't know that this person recognize that about me or notice that about me, or I didn't even think of myself in that way. And so I use that as an example because we were virtual. We never saw each other. We observed in class that, just send a text or pick up the phone and call someone and say something that you admire about them. And it doesn't have to be planned. They could come to your mind, and just uh, show some gratitude for that person. It just goes a very, very long way.
Yeah, that's so special. That's so
Yeah, yeah, it was. And then they said, Dr. Van, because I do Padlet, and that's an online, online board that you can write messages. And they said, we
mm.
want you to develop one for yourself so we can write to you. And that's
Oh, that's so sweet.
it was. So I'll share that information. It's Padlet. It's called Padlet, Padlet, and it's a wonderful way to just show someone some gratitude. So before we close, I'd like to invite you to participate in uh, a meditation that I created specifically around mental health and college students. And it's just going to be no more than 2 minutes. And so I'm going to invite you again to lower your gaze or close your eyes or softly focus on something that's nearby. Because when you do that, your imagination or your ability to see the images becomes much clearer. So as you lower your gaze or close your eyes, I'd like you to take a nice, deep, calming breath. And then as you inhale, imagine you are drawing in the strength and wisdom of your ancestors who have walked this path before you. Hold that breath for a moment, feeling their presence and guidance within you. And then exhale slowly, releasing any tension, any doubt, any fear, any anxiety, any tenseness. And then just let your breath take over breathing for you as I continue. So I'd like you to picture yourself standing in a sacred place, a place where your soul feels connected to the earth and to those who have come before you. The sun's warmth on your skin reminds you of the resilience that runs through your veins, a resilience that has been passed down through generations. And as you take a nice deep breath in and out again, feel the power of this connection, this lineage grounding you. Now, I'd like you to imagine roots growing from your feet deep into the rich soil beneath you, the earth, nourished by the love and strength of your community. You are anchored, you are supported, you are never alone. As you take another deep breath in and out, I invite you to just embrace peace and clarity. Invite that into your mind. And as you exhale, let go of any additional fears or anxieties, knowing that they do not define you. In this moment, repeat to yourself, and perhaps you can say it out loud if you're in a space where you feel you can do that. Otherwise, say it mentally. I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. I am strong. I am resilient. I am worthy. Feel these words resonate within you, lighting a fire of purpose and pride in your heart. Know that you carry within you the spirit of those who overcame, who thrived, who lived with hope and determination. This spirit guides you, empowers you, and is always with you. Now, when you're ready, gently bring your awareness back into the space and take a final nice deep breath in and out slowly. And as you open your eyes, carry this sense of pride, peace, and resilience with you. Remember, you are part of a powerful legacy, and you have everything you need within you to succeed. And so, as we come to a close, Dr. Kamala Peart-Terry, it has been such a phenomenal experience having you here today, and you have shared so much nurturing and practical experience of how we can help our young college students, undergrad students, and others to deal with mental health challenges and to thrive. And so, thank you. And I just admire the work that you're doing in our community.
Oh, thank you.
And I will connect with you soon.
Thank you. I'm nice and relaxed now too. Thank you.
Well, have,
Very
you
good.
have clients to see right after this. So,
I do, yeah.
so thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
I'll see you soon.
Okay. All
Okay.
right. Thank you for staying with us and dropping in and listening to this very important conversation to support mental health among our young college students. And I'm here every first and third Sunday at 9 a.m. Pacific time to talk about many topics, including those that embrace healing. Until I see you again, I wish you love and light. Thank you. I'm going to share just some resources that you can get in touch with me. Let's see. Here we go.